All right, the next chart is histogram. Now, this one might be kind of new for most people. Most adults have never seen a histogram. They don't understand this. So histogram, it does look like a bar chart, but it is not a bar chart. What makes a histogram special? And it's its ability to show a continuous interval. Now, that might not be, you probably don't even understand what that would mean, but that would be like counting money. We can see time, temperature. This is a continuous interval, which means because it doesn't really stop, it moves seamlessly from one number to another number. So let's just look at one and it'll make it a little easier to understand. So I'm going to go ahead and move to an example that I really like. I think this is a great example to start talking about a histogram. So as you can see, we have a chart here. Okay, this is temperature. You see this? This is August average temperature of cities. So we're looking about the average temperature of different cities. Now, that's my title. What are the variables? Well, look at temperature. See temperature down here, and then number of cities located over here. Now, look at how the bars are located are shown. Do you notice that there is no space between each interval? And what I mean by interval is this. This would be 60. This would be 69. This also starts the next interval, which would be from 70 to 79. So what I mean by continuous intervals is the fact that temperature is a continuous interval. It doesn't really stop. It's hard to see the distance or the space between 69.999999999 and 70 degrees. It's very difficult to calculate that because again, remember, 79.99999999999 technically goes on forever, right? So it makes it very hard to compute. So this is why we call it a continuous interval. So it moves continuously from 60 to 69.9, right? To 70, from 70 to 70.9.9999, from 80 to 89.99999. And that's what's really happening here. Another thing too is I'm actually showing quantity of cities. For instance, if I said, hey, how many cities have an average temperature between the interval 60 and 69? So if you're looking at this first interval, I'd say, well, how many cities fit between that? So you'd say, well, where is that located, Aaron? I'm like, oh, dude, it's located right here on your vertical axis. So I'd say, okay, so in my interval 60 to 69, which includes this whole section right here, say that goes up to 12. Say exactly. What about between 70 and 79? Say, well, that goes to 10. Again, remember, I'm going over here, right, to find that answer. What about 80 to 89? 16. 90 to 99? 18. 100 to 109. Ooh, that's far, right? Where is that? You gotta come way over here. Now I'm gonna say 6. Hopefully you agree with me. Ooh, that's far, right? So this is a histogram. You'll notice there's no space, right? So again, no space. And again, it's displaying something that's continuous, like temperature or money. You're going to see that. Again, and it's also showing quantity too, right? The number of cities. So this is 12 cities in this interval. Let's go ahead and answer this question. Let's go ahead and practice, okay? So let's take a look. I'm going to erase a little bit here, okay, so that we don't get distracted too much by all these marks. Let's go ahead and answer this question. I'll leave a little bit up here. I'm going to go ahead and leave those numbers because they're helpful to answer this question. So the question says, number 3, how many cities have average temperatures between 70 degrees and 99 degrees? Go ahead and pause the video and answer that question. All right, are you back? All right, here we go. So you're looking at temperatures between 70 degrees and 99 degrees, which means you're going to have to include a few intervals. You'll see that 670 starts right here. So it's going to include all of this information, which is 10, all of this information, which is 16, and all of this information, which is 18. So how many cities? Well, I have to add all these up. Did we come up with, what is that, 44? I think that's right. So how many cities have average temperatures between 70 degrees and 99 degrees? 44 of them do. You want to try again? Let's take a look at this next question here. So again, a histogram, scores. It's very much like dot plot. If you can imagine, right? Because number of students, right? I can already say, oh, that's one student. There's a one there, right? Between the intervals 71 and 75, there's two people there. It's very much like a dot plot. So actually there's, you can count the number of individuals. So anyway, let's go ahead and answer this question. Go ahead and look at number 4, read this question and answer it, and give it a shot. So go ahead and pause the video and answer the question. All right, are you ready? All right, so we're just looking at the interval 86 to 90. So when I look at 86 to 90, it's only one interval. It's actually only from here to here. I don't have to, as the previous question asked, I don't have to include any other intervals. I only have to look at that one and answer that. So what does that mark go up to? I'd look across over here for my answer. I'd say, oh, well, that blue line is all the way up to the number 1. So how many students scored between 86 and 90? One of them did. You want to try another? Let's look at another. Here we go. Okay, go ahead and take a look at this histogram and go ahead and answer this question. How many people watched between 6 and 10 hours of TV last week? Pause the video. All right, let's come on back. So again, we're looking only at 6 to 10. So again, we're looking at one interval, which is located right here. I want to go ahead and figure it out. So I come up here, I'd say, okay, this is my high point. And I look over to the left to find out the number of students. And that number is 35. You want to try again? Let's try one more. Take a look at this one. Go ahead and answer the question number 6. Pause the video. All right. Here we go. It says which interval has the greatest number of employees? So greatest number of employees, that's going to be also the highest bar, right? Doesn't that make sense? That it would be the highest bar would show because it would show the greatest number of employees. So I just look for the highest bar and I see it right there. So as you can tell, this is a great question. I see, okay, well, that's the highest point. And if I look over to the left, figure out what number that is. Ooh, do you notice that it's somewhere between 500 and 600? This happens often. So students will say, they'll say to me, Varen, is it 540? Is it 530? I'd say, no, 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 no. You're making this too hard. I'd say, hey, doesn't it look like that bar is halfway between this bar and this bar? So I'm gonna say, doesn't it look like it's halfway? And it probably does. I'd say, yeah, it's about halfway. Well, you want to make that assumption and just say, that's got to be the halfway mark, right? I'd say that's the highest mark. I would say that's 500, about 50 people. Yeah, but then you'd say, well, Varen, they didn't ask me how many it was. They just asked me what was the highest point. I'd say, oh, okay. But I'm just talking, guys. I'm just talking. I'm saying, hey, if they do ask me, because that is very common that they might ask me what quantity is the highest number of employees. And you would have to say 550 at the interval 44 to 54. Okay. And there's my answer there, 44 to 54. Keep practicing.